peak life is balance. So we do have to still work right now. We don't have that passive income that says now I don't have to work, but it's all about balance. You have to be there. You have to spend time with your kids. Like that's number one. That is, to me, that's a peak life. Like if nothing else went right in my life, if I had spent time with my kids, that's peak life right there. You can work, but you got to go to their games. You got to go to jiu-jitsu. You've got to go to gymnastics. You've got to go to whatever they're doing. You have to spend that time with them. And that's truly peak life is finding that balance between work and family and hobbies. You gotta have something for you too.
Welcome to the Your Peak Life podcast. Let's conquer the summit of life and reach the apex of our potential.
Welcome to another episode of Your Peak Life podcast. What's going on, DJ Julian Rivera? Do your thing. We got my man
Edgar Munoz. How you doing?
He can introduce himself. And then we got the special guest today, the one and only, the Eli Miller. The crowd goes wild. He's here. What's going on, Eli?
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
It was Edgar's idea.
I figured it was. I didn't think you would have.
My mind goes straight to Eli Manning. I would have fucked up this intro, just to let you know.
That is very, very true. And
I get that a lot. People ask if I'm related. I'm like, it's not the same last name, the same
no,
first name.
Not at all. Not at all.
You look the same, though. He's 6'5", Super Bowl ring, all the stuff. So, yeah.
I'm even better looking, so, yeah.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah.
So, you asked a question, coming over here on, hey, what are we doing here? What is the prep? What is Your Peak Life about? I mean, that's essentially we're just having a conversation.
Okay.
There's no real bullet points or anything to follow. We like to just talk about you. Every guest that we have in the show is more so, what is your definition of your peak life? There's no wrong answer here because everyone has their own opinions, their own thought process, what they want to do. But, tell us a little bit about the Eli Miller, on who you are, what you're about. And we'll just kind of go from there.
The kind of the background of who I am, whatever.
What do you do, man? I mean, what do you make bourbon for a living? I don't know what you do.
I would like to get into that. I'm a big bourbon guy. I'll just give a quick bio then. How's that work?
Go for it.
All right. So we'll start with a little bit more recent, so it's not too long. Went here, supposed to play baseball at Virginia Wesleyan College. Went to school for business management, and then did finance accounting as an emphasis. Did financial planning for a semester with financial planning company, that kind of thing. So that was my initial sort of education, and got into retail management. Everybody would know it as Macy's these days. I worked 1 week, 132 hours, and made the same salary, and that was not cool. And
that's fun.
I was always directed to do things the corporate way, and I'm like, but I think this is a good idea. And then I would sneak and do things, and they'd be like, "Oh, your sales were amazing. What did you do?" And I'd be like, "I did this." And they say, "You can't do that." I couldn't do that. I couldn't
follow the script.
I had to work for myself. So I spent a good bit of time soul searching, finding who I am, what works good for me, what I like, what I enjoy, that kind of thing. Also, how I would get paid, and came across real estate and real estate sales, and so that's a perfect fit. I can work super hard and potentially make a lot of money. If I want to take it easy and take a day off or do whatever, I'm allowed to do that. I can do whatever I want. It's my business. Decided that was the route I wanted to go, but did it the right way. I spent about a year continuing in that job and working a second job. So I would go to Macy's from 8 to 5, and then I would go to a convenience store from 6 until midnight and work and save up money so that I could go all in when I started it. Got started back in 2002. So I've been through the first boom, the Great Recession, and learned that you got to sort of change things up and learn how to adjust. Now, any career you're in, you might have to adjust with things that change, and learn how to adjust. Part of sort of talking about the peak and things like that we'll probably talk about in a minute is you learn that, especially in real estate and some of these careers, your income doesn't stay the same all the time. My income dropped 60% year over year from 07 to 08, and you got to kind of evaluate everything at that point and what you're doing. So yeah, that's sort of how I got into real estate. Then got into property management. People call me up, "Hey, you want to sell my house? I'd love to. Do you have $100,000? Most people say no.
Yeah.
My options to them are you can sell it, you can short sell it, you can foreclose on it, or you can rent it out. People start asking if they can rent it out, and if I'd help them. So I learned how to do short sales, and I learned how to do property management and things like that. So just adjusted with the times.
So wait, you got into property management because of the need at the time of the '08 crash, basically?
Yes.
So people didn't really lose their ass. It was
Correct.
almost like a necessary evil just happened to fall in your lap because everyone started asking you for this.
Absolutely. And in my part of this career is I've never been in sales. This career is to help people out.
Right.
And that's sort of changing even as I get older of different ways to help people out. So that's what came of that. I didn't want to see people foreclose and lose things and lose, their credit and all those type of situations that you're going to get into, and realize that renting their house out really is a good opportunity for them or option for them. And it is now creating an asset, and it's now creating future income and wealth. Not the best reason for it necessarily at the time.
Right.
But it's a reason that has worked out well. Several people I still work with still actually have those properties.
Since
15
08?
years later. Yeah, going on 15, however long it's been now. Still have those properties, and now they've got a bunch of equity and things are good. At the time it wasn't. It was a scary situation, but helped them through it at that time. And that made me feel good, and it still does.
It's funny you mentioned that's how you got into it, because I stumbled upon, and we bought our first house in 06. Obviously, the crash happened, and our house was worth like $100K, whatever it was. And this is a home in California. And instead of short selling or foreclosing on it, we became landlords. We rented that out. The military moved us to San Diego, which was like 6 hours away. And we bought our second home. And we kept the other one for a couple of years until, we recouped that money, which was years later. But I think that was the best move we made then.
Yeah.
Right? And then the second house, we were able to buy it at the bottom of the market, which was like late 2010, 2011, and with a good interest rate.
Yeah, good interest rate and low prices. It's kind of a perfect storm in that 2010 to 2013 range. I even wrote a post about it. This will be the best year in history, if you look back on it, probably to purchase a home, because we're never going to have a crash like that again. That was fraud. That was at a major level, that barring some major catastrophe, so to speak. And then interest rates came down as well, and so there was kind of a perfect storm of pricing and interest rates to be able to purchase for a brief period there.
And to that point, our first house, we had no business buying that house. Like our credit was shit. Like we were in the military, we weren't like watching our credit score.
Typical
We were
Spanish
young
guy in the military.
Yeah, man. We were just out. I had the 5 cars in the front yard, all that stuff. And we saw something. It was like the house was like, it was a house that we saw an ad, and it was like, damn, that's a good price. Let's go check it out. Had no clue how to buy a house.
In a newspaper?
I used to have newspaper or that's how I used to get business back in the day.
This was 06. I can't remember if it was like
on MySpace,
Facebook. I can't remember what it was.
It wasn't Facebook. Well, it might have been. But
might have been. MySpace. But anyways, we went, and it was like, oh, it's a manufactured home, right? But by the time we got there, we had already applied online, and we got the call like, oh yeah, you guys are approved.
There was some crazy stuff back then. I saw some.
Yeah, and we got like
things.
I forget what it was called. Whatever program they put us on. It was really, we only financed like 120, and the other half wasn't going to start until after we paid off the first 120K.
Wow. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, we're locked in for like 80 years, right?
That's when they were approving anybody. You got a pulse. Oh, you can get $1 million house. Yeah. You're good to go.
But everybody's talking about interest rates now and prices. So I bought new construction in 07. So we actually closed effectively the day before the market tanked. So my house took 10, 12, 13, 14 years or something to actually recoup the value. And
Your
this
current
is
house.
my current house.
Yeah.
And this was back when you did 80-20s. So you had a first and a second mortgage for 20%. I had 6.3 and 8.9 and on my interest rates. And at the time I was like, that's a pretty good interest rate. And that house or this house is just now worth what we paid for it only about 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's what we paid. I think our interest rates at the time was like 6.75 or 7.25, one or the other. I can't remember exactly which one it was. But never second guessed it. Like if that was a bad interest rate, we just wanted to buy a house.
Exactly.
So that was it.
After people kind of get used to these interest rates, I think things will, and they already are working themselves out. So.
Yeah. So are you originally from this area?
So North Jersey when I was young. So F-bomb becomes part of your vernacular at the age of 6 or something like that. So we're fitting well here with the military.
In Mafia.
Yeah. Moved to Northern Virginia for 8th grade through high school. So I played baseball and stuff up in Northern Virginia. So came here for college, and every time I move south, I stay. I feel like everything slows down. Like Northern Virginia was just way too much with the expansion of DC and 495 and all that stuff. And then I come here, and now the traffic here. I'm like, oh. So.
And at what point, like, did you start playing baseball like young, like T-ball, little league?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years old. I've been playing my whole life. So now I play. I played baseball. Supposed to play in college. Decided not to. Wasn't a good fit. Had a good time in college though. And then played adult ball for several years against other college players and things. So I got to have that level. I also got into softball. And now that my kids are grown, so I have 2 kids. My daughter graduates next week, and that's my youngest. So now this year I'm on my wife likes to call it old man team. It's over 40. Yeah. We're traveling all over. We're doing up and down the East Coast. Been to Myrtle Beach, Knoxville, Tennessee, York, Pennsylvania, just up and down already. We're going to Vegas.
What's the name of the old man team?
Smoking Aces. We're,
Okay.
Sponsored by an American Legion, which is nice, though, because we do give back to the American Legion.
Oh, let's see.
Give some credit. He's a sponsored athlete. I just want to put this out there, okay? So he's an official sponsored athlete. Just want to make sure that everyone in the world knows he knows what he's doing. All right.
Gotcha.
Give yourself credit.
He's being modest.
Exactly.
I got to play with my son, so that's another thing I enjoy. Is my son's older. I play with him too, and we got invited. Buddy of mine invited us to play. We call it young man ball because at the NEA age. And I did realize a couple weeks ago. I did realize I'm still okay for NEA. I'm a good. If over 40, I'm still a good ball player. I'm a good ball player. But I did realize now that I'm just okay now for any age at this point. 23-year-olds are still moving in ways I can't imagine
you're not
moving anymore.
For the ball anymore.
I do, but it's not the way they do.
Yeah.
He wants to, but then he gets hurt.
Right.
And then he doesn't go to the doctor.
No.
And then he just continues to play.
Yes.
I know
Common
this
man
guy.
problem,
That's just
man.
what he.
If you don't go to the doctor, nothing's wrong.
100%. That's what
Good
I said
advice.
about COVID.
Remember that.
Do
Yeah,
not.
you don't have COVID.
Delete that
You don't-
part. No.
Exactly.
Get you for it. Like,
So your example of of a peak life. I'll give a definition of what I think it is for you, and then you remix it into your own words. Sounds
You're
like
the remixer,
you
huh?
want to play. You want to be able to play softball till you're 80.
Mm-hmm.
You want to stay in real estate as long as you're allowed to. You want to continue to doing property management as long as you want to, and you want to stay an awesome, devoted husband and father for as long as you can.
That's pretty much sums it up.
Okay.
And so
End of the show. Thank you.
And
Appreciate
thinking
it.
about this, I got the thing. What is your peak life? Obviously, I got like two questions. Hey, what is your peak life? So I started thinking about it, and all of a sudden, it just kind of hit me. And I've been moving that way. I think you and I have sort of been moving that way also, and just haven't put it to paper. We have not a mentor, but somebody we work with, Austin Chevron. They've got their sort of. It's a very short one line. What their vision and goal is. So I actually wrote it down. I'm going to start keeping it with me here. That's my little visual aid I told you about. But financial independence through passive income, and passive income is one that I definitely want to emphasize there. And the financial independence. I've learned a lot of lessons over the years. Everybody asks me how I got into business and all these things. I learned the hard way. I learned by doing it. And that's sort of the same thing with finances. I had my education, which helped, but I've still made mistakes over the years. But financial independence, meaning that basically your bills are paid, the things that you need or want, a lifestyle basic lifestyle is taken care of. You don't have to make money necessarily through active activities. I don't have to go punch a clock. My wife doesn't have to go be a nurse and help people, things like that. All the income we need is being generated through investments and whatnot that are passive.
yep.
So, for instance, Julian and I own a couple properties in Snowshoe.
Yep.
And they're Airbnbs. Our initial thought was this would be relatively passive. Partially, it's been us not having done quite everything we should have done. But just in general, Airbnbs are a little more work than I think both of us initially anticipated. So we're looking at maybe selling that. We bought pretty well. So
bought very well.
we did pretty well the last couple of years. So the thought is though, we're putting a lot of work into that. And Julian does 9 million things. I've pared down a few things, but there's only so many hours in a day. So the thought is let's get that money that we've gotten there, and let's try and fund something that can provide an income a little more passively.
Yep.
So to speak. So
Roll
that
it
way-
in something else.
Yeah.
I guess on the rental side, how many doors do you manage now?
I mean, there's about 100 right now.
Okay.
And now we're looking to really build. I've come up with a strategy for sort of any team lead brokerage that doesn't do property management. I'm still trying to get the legalities worked out, but it might be a way for sort of everybody to get involved sort of through our company, because I'm doing it so long. I did it, just had that company. My dad had lost his job when the economy tanked. So he came and kind of ran that because I was still more the sales person, maintained a lot of relationships. And then I started another property management company after I started my brokerage, getting back into it and really realize how much opportunity there is out there and how much I can help people, things like that. And want to make sure there's unfortunately some not great players out there in the industry, like any industry.
Right.
So I want to make sure that we can help people out. And then the people that I know in real estate, I want to be able to give them an option with somebody to work with or refer people to that they know is going to take care of them.
Yeah, because I always tell people, like, when it comes to property management, me as a tenant, right? When I was a tenant, I never called the property manager at all. I think the first time I ever called anybody was like, I had just landed in Virginia Beach, and I had a house out there in Brigadoon was the neighborhood, and we had a pool and everything. Well, the pictures that were online were definitely the pictures from like 10 years ago. When
Right.
they
A
first,
couple tenants prior.
Yeah, there was a dead crow in the pool, like the liners all jacked, termites.
switch
Like, yeah, we ended up breaking that lease early, and the guy's still in real estate. Shout out to you.
We're taking one that's a little out of our geographic area right now. Actually, I think Julian referred to us, but she's having just such a hard time. She's been treated so bad by her management company. I feel bad. I'm like, all right, we're going to figure it out. We're going to make a way to help you out there because I just want to make sure that she's getting good service. I mean, she didn't deserve what she got with the people she's with. So
tell us a little bit about your property management company, just the overall. I know you got a few employees that work with you, the AKA the heart and soul of this. You've been doing this for a long time. But in like a 60-second pitch, like just what is a property management company and why would anyone want to work with you?
60-second pitch. Well, I've been doing it a long time, first of all. And property management is different than real estate sales, and people tend to not realize that. There's sort of a whole lot involved. So what we try and do is take all of the burden off of the owner. You can be as little involved or as much involved as you want, but ideally you should be able to hand it over to us and just collect a payment in your bank account every month. And it's about customer service as well. I tell my people that the owners are our business, the owners are our clients. It's about customer service, but we also have to keep the tenants happy, and they need to be in nice, comfortable places that are working the way they're supposed to, things like that. So I've really worked though on systems over the last year or two to try and save time for my property managers. Something as small as some lock boxes where if the property's vacant, somebody can actually go online, sign up with their information. So they got to put in their driver's license. They got to put in a lot of detailed information, but they get a one-time code to now go see that property. That saves my people from driving all over 7 cities all the time. Now we still do, but they don't have to all the time. Plus, for some reason, the past couple of years, people, they'll call us up at 1 o'clock and say, hey, can you show me at 1:30?
Right.
That's just not possible. We can say, well, here's an option for you. So things like that. And we've been, there's several other
I've been saying that. I think like on the real estate game, that's how I foresee the future. The banks is going to have the power where they're going to have all that info and with that one-time code, let people in the doors.
Yeah.
I think that's where it's going to affect us. And me personally, that's just an idea.
Scares me because people need representation. So
the representation part is
correct. So if that's the case, then I think that pushes people toward maybe not having representation on their side. And then the people who work for the banks or whoever it may be are now maybe taking advantage of the buyers, or unfortunately.
Oh, absolutely. So, let's close the deal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Now, managing so many doors over the years, like what's a horror story that you...
Oh God, big one. We've had we have people destroy the places, and then you can't get any of the money back. People stay in the houses. We've had
because I ended up evicting one of my tenants, and
we've evicted a lot of people.
I'm sure you have. And mine was like, we got this older couple. I was like, cool, they're gonna move in. They don't move shit. They just move in, set their furniture, and they stopped paying. Like 3 months later, I was like.
Yeah, we've had it where people moved in and pretty much stopped paying. During COVID, it was rough. I think it was a horror story for everybody. We couldn't evict people that wouldn't pay. Now the owner's stuck with the mortgage, and there's no rent coming.
Their rent or mortgage. Yep.
Yeah. From various animal issues to crime. I mean, there's so many things that I could probably think of a whole bunch of things.
There's so many you can't even narrow it down.
I can't even narrow it down.
Yeah. Give a 2024 story, something that's happened this year.
2024, what do we got? Well, we got an old guy who can't really move much, and we have to do everything for him, and didn't report that water was leaking in the kitchen, and now has caused several $1,000s of damage to that kitchen.
Why do I know this story?
It might sound familiar. I don't know.
Oh, yes. It sounds extremely familiar. Okay.
So we're
trying. It's not one of those rehabs, right?
Oh no. It's a house that should be perfectly fine and ready to live in, but this guy just happens not to want to live in a way that an average person should live.
Yeah,
like the bare minimum.
I think his liability on the rent, because he gets assistance, is like $60 or something a month, and he still has a hard time with that, and we've got to go collect it from him and things like that. Yeah.
Well, with your children now, I mean, what's their aspirations? Do they plan to get into real estate, or are they doing the baseball or something completely different?
So my son played baseball, and then partway through high school, he decided it just wasn't for him anymore. So I think it was his junior year, and then got into golf. But then him and I play softball together. My kids are smart and good, man. I don't know where they came from. It wasn't me. So my son went to TCC out of high school because he didn't know exactly what he wanted to do,
Okay.
and bounced around a little bit. He wanted to be a police officer, did some things, and then, but kind of like when I said I spent time deciding who I am, we gave him that time to decide who he was, and realized that computers were a passion of his, and so he went and got his cybersecurity degree in like 2.5 years or something, and now he's got an amazing job with a government contractor, and
Nice.
he's 24 years old here on Monday and owns a house and is married and all that good stuff. And then my daughter graduates next week. She was a state champion gymnast growing up. So for, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, there's a blur because we were traveling 7 days a week or going to practices and things between him playing travel baseball and her with her gymnastics, which if anybody has daughters in competitive gymnastics, that's a 30-hour a week commitment without the stuff
My
going
kids
on.
are just getting into that age when they're
Yeah.
getting into stuff. So I'm about to hit that,
Yeah.
I guess, 10-year, whatever
Yes.
gap of just events.
And I
Julian,
coach-
I know you got like 20 kids. Like, I don't know how you do it.
I mean, I'll be kidless at 75. I did the math. So, yeah.
So my daughter's graduating and she's deciding now to do the same thing. She's going to go to TCC and kind of figure it out. She thought she had a plan. But we talked to trusted people, including your wife and whatnot, and it's helped her kind of think, hey, maybe let me evaluate this and make sure I'm making the right decisions moving forward. So they're money conscious, a lot better money even than I was. So yeah, they're doing good.
See, we got to give the kids. Well, let's just be clear. They have these, right?
They do.
So technically, they have access to every piece of information in the world. Compared to when we were growing up, we were lucky if we had dial-up. You know,
We had to meet somebody, right?
Right. We had to meet. We actually had to go to the library and look through the Dewey Decibel System and find out,
Yeah.
hey, we don't want to do this, you know. But that took hours. It took so much time where they can figure this out in 5 minutes if they really wanted to. So, but not every kid does that.
Right.
They have access to every piece of information here, and they still decide to be the consumer instead of just going and actually learning and figuring it out. So I got to give your kids credit for at least thinking that way, because they're part of like probably 10% of kids that do it like that.
And then you got the kids, unfortunately, who are influenced too much by social media, who think that there'll be a TikTok influencer or something like that. And unfortunately, they kind of get pushed the wrong directions because of that instant information. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where like now they're getting a little bit of seeds here and there, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to them to like really research. But it's at the palm of their hands, right?
Literally.
Versus we physically have to go get a book or actually know somebody who's really doing it.
Yeah, actual physical books, which they don't even hardly use anymore. Right? We have bookshelves. They don't even know what a bookshelf is.
Hell, I went to the Virginia Beach Library and I was like, this is nice.
Right.
Right here, right off of Virginia Beach Boulevard. I didn't even know it was that nice over there.
You've ever been there before?
No.
When the hell did
No,
you go?
does anything about me say I go to the library?
Yes.
We were looking at a room, a conference room.
Living that peak life. I just, because you're talking about the kids and stuff now, I just want to throw it out there. And I think you guys both, I know you do, and it seems, you got your kids. One of the nice things about real estate, but peak life is balance. So we do have to still work right now. We don't have that passive income that says now I don't have to work, but it's all about balance. You have to be there. You have to spend time with your kids. Like that's number one. That is, to me, that's a peak life. Like if nothing else went right in my life, if I had spent time with my kids, that's peak life right there. But you still want to show them and grow and have the opportunity to do pretty much anything. But if you can work, but you got to go to their games. You got to go to jiu-jitsu. You've got to go to gymnastics. You've got to go whatever they're doing. You have to spend that time with them. And that's truly peak life is finding that balance between work and family and hobbies. You gotta have something for you too.
Yeah, I
Very
agree. The kids' time with me is it's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
It's whatever events they have, I'll be there.
Yep.
Right. Have there been times I had to leave early? Yes, but I'm there.
Yeah.
Right.
I was the same way.
Very few.
Was I watching a baseball game and maybe took a phone call during a baseball game or something because I really had to? Yes, but I was generally there. Now, did I maybe have to work till midnight that night because I went and spent 3-4 hours on a baseball
Right.
field? Yes, that happened, but had that opportunity.
But it allows us in this industry to have that opportunity instead of, damn it, I can't do it because XYZ, the boss said I had to do this, whatever
Right.
the case may be.
So be careful in your industry. I mean, you should be able to still have time with your kids no matter what you're doing. You can be a banker clocking 8 to 5 or something like that. Most stuff is evenings, but make sure you're physically together enough and whatnot that at 5 o'clock you're now excited to go sit at practice for 3 hours.
So how long you been married? No.
20 years this year. We're actually going to Europe in
Nice.
July for a 2-week
Congratulations.
vacation for 20th anniversary. And then also, so my son got married last year and they didn't go on honeymoon. They bought a house, go figure based on their dad.
Question: did they spend like 40 grand on a wedding?
Nope, not even close.
Fuck yeah.
No.
All right. No,
The
they're good
DJ was
kids.
really expensive.
The DJ was
Probably the
biggest
most
expense.
expensive part.
It was.
That mother sucker.
Right. It was a great wedding. So we're actually going, the four of us, all together, which we're super excited about. And you did ask whether my kids were getting real estate. My kids are not. They have no interest in it whatsoever. However, my daughter-in-law just got her license.
Right.
And I'm excited for her. She's a teacher, but she's a hustler. Like, she's got to work 24/7 or she's not feeling right, kind of thing. So I think she'll do well in real estate, and I think as long as she stays teaching for a while, it'll be a good way to get clients and things. So,
Well, I got a question for both of you guys. So,
No.
with you guys doing investments, flips, or whatever, right? To the audience out there that might be listening to this, and you hear these gurus out there influencing people. I got 20, 100, whatever doors. You hear those. I see those videos, and yes, some investments are good and they get you great returns, but like, what is it really like?
Wait, which part?
Well, as far as acquiring properties and the return on those properties, as far as an Airbnb
Right.
or rentals,
long-term rentals are a long-term play, and I think too many people get into them with the wrong mindset. You have to have reserves and things. You have to be prepared.
how much would you recommend in reserves?
I would recommend at least 6 months of mortgage payments. Now, the 6 month mortgage payments isn't necessarily for just mortgage payments. If somebody isn't in the home, you're going to have repairs and things like that. The one we just bought, it's got great cash flow, but there's been like every month there's been an expense the past 4 months or something like that.
Gotcha.
So even if you're moving and you're going to rent that house out, that's a great idea. I think everybody should do that. That was what I told my kids. You're not buying your forever house. You're buying something you're comfortable in now. In a couple of years, you save up and you rent that one out and you buy something else. And you can even be in the negative on that. You might, but think about it. They bought a $300,000 townhouse, let's say. You're now then renting that out, but you're maybe short $200 a month and $1,500 a year and some expenses or something like that. Well, for $3,000 a year, how many investments can you make that somebody else is basically buying you a $300,000 asset for a couple $100 a month, effectively? You got to find a very, very, very high yielding investment to be able to do that. Then on top of that, I say $300,000 because that's the purchase price. If real estate doubles every 15, 20 some odd years, now it's a $600,000 asset that you put a couple $100 toward over the course of time. So
Right. I think you hit some things in the head as far as having reserves, right? A lot of people get into it just because they could get into it, and they're thinking, they're going to be raking in thousands of dollars in the door, and it's not like that.
No. Long-term rentals, you're not looking at cash flow too much. There's options and things. If you really get into it, you can find something needs a little work. You can get a little cash flow maybe, but you need to, in my mind, I think you need to look at long-term ones as sort of just a sit there and wait kind of thing.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with a buyer not too long ago where, well, now he's the buyer, but he was a little hesitant because he's like, I just want to rent. I don't want the liabilities of things going haywire and have to fix it. I was like, you know what we do, right? Like, every time I replace that stove or that microwave or whatever happens, guess what's going to happen when your lease comes up? Rent's going up.
Facts.
You're paying for it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, or the next tenant. Like,
Exactly.
We're
And you have that
recouping
ability,
it.
which is nice. Being the owner of that asset, you have that power, so to speak. So it's everybody should own multiple properties, and you can do that easily. Everybody, no matter what career you're in, you can do that roughly through House Hack, where you buy your first house, live there a couple of years, move on to the next one kind of thing. You do that up to 4 times. I mean, I think everybody should do that. You can have plenty of other investments. But
And I regret selling those homes in California. I fucking regret it to this day. I should.
But you didn't know. Yeah, what do the kids say? If you know, you know, right? And
Yeah.
At the time, you just
Now
didn't
I'm
know.
not selling.
Now you know. So, I mean, I'm not going to sell outside of the snowshoe ones that we possibly have because they're not local. I don't plan on selling anything else ever. I mean, I'll eat whatever the losses are every year on purpose because of the long-term play like you're talking about. Now, if we're talking about, let's say, an MTR, a midterm rental, those, since my wife and I have kind of segued into that world with just one of the properties, I actually like doing that more. It's exactly what a STR, short-term rental, MTR, midterm rental, LTR, long-term rental, okay? So the STR, obviously, you'll make more money, but it's a lot more work, right? In theory, you'll make more money. MTR, same thing as a STR. You're not going to make as much money, but you are making definitely more money compared to a long-term rental, but it's still fully furnished. I don't have to leave the extra coffees or teas. I don't have to leave an entire roll of toilet paper, just one or two, because they're going to be there for 30, 60, 90 days. They're going to have to re-up on some of the stuff, and that's pretty much industry standard. But I don't have to move all the furniture and stuff, right? So yeah, we still have to pay the utilities and the mortgage and everything, but if I'm making these numbers up, but if it's a short-term rental on a unit and we're paying $2,000 a month for just all in, whatever the case may be, but we're making $6,000 or $7,000 a month, that's dope. That's gross. That's still cleaners every 3-4 days. That's still more and more wear and tear in the house. There's still a lot more maybes. I'll just put it out there.
And that's what's happening with the was it the townhouse you guys have?
We have 3 condos in Snowshoe currently right now. 3-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, and then a studio. But that's not necessarily it, because that's a seasonal STR. Where some markets have annual, like you can do it throughout the entire year. With us, with the MTR down here, more so, I look at it I got that place because being in real estate, I realized people are PCSing and coming to the area so much that they don't want to rent, and they might need a place just in case until they get their next house.
Right.
That was literally the entire intention behind that. I tried to STR for once. Laws and regulations came out. It's fine. MTR, we don't need to worry about permits and stuff. Cool. We just kept everything in there, and just literally minimum days you can book is 30. So now back to that $2,000 a month analogy. If you're making $7,000 on the STR, you might make $3,500 on the MTR. You're making, or maybe $4,000, depending on what it is. But they're there for 30, 60, 90 days. You still got to do a cleaner, but once. You still have to worry about wear and tear, but it's the same person. You don't have to worry about getting the coverage and the insurance to cover it, because you know where it came from. You know what it was in the beginning and the end. It's comparable to LTR. So if I had to choose one lane out of those 3 to stay in for the rest of my life, MTR, LTR, then STR in that order. But but again, this startup. But at LTR, you just buy the place that's empty. People moving their own stuff. They don't have to worry about it. MTR, you got to put the $5-10 whatever up front to get it ready, get the furniture in there, whatever the case may be.
And with the MTRs, I could see that really working out here in our area just because of the military, right? Like we get here and it's like, I don't want to get stuck with a long-term lease. I'm buying a house, or we're just waiting to close. Or,
Countless times I've had military come to the area, and when we talk about buying, like, I think we're just going to rent for a year because we want to get used to the area. I'm like, but why do a year? The midterm situation is relatively new, so I wish we had that more so back in the day. So it now gives them, all right, let me just rent something for 3 months and get used to the area instead of locking myself in for an entire year before I buy something. So
on the business side, what as far as rentals or flips or investments, what do those numbers look like for you, I guess, down the line that you're trying to reach?
So 500 properties, or doors, I should say, under management is the initial short midterm goal, I should say.
Okay.
At that point, my involvement can step back a little bit, and that's where that money, when we talk about that kind of passive income, where I'm not having to put in as much work for the income coming in, so to speak. Still trying to decide. I love selling real estate, so I don't know yet. Each year has been different recently. I think I'd like to be in the 5 to 10 million range. I feel like that's in sales volume or something, maybe more, but just to stay in it, stay relevant, know what's going on in the market, things like that. I still have a team. I've been paring it down. We started with 35. We're down to 8, give or take, right now.
35.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
But you realize that. So I poured into this team for years and years and years. Poured in, but it wasn't getting it back. And people, how do I get business? And I work with them. Here's how you get business. Here's what you do. Then they wouldn't do it, but then they'd be mad at me for some reason that they weren't successful.
It's all your fault.
It's always my fault. And that got pretty frustrating. So I'm letting the team kind of be people who I want to be with, and I think we're kind of there right now. I had somebody who wanted to join recently, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if that's quite the fit for me, and I don't want to just take anybody at this point. I'm excited to bring my daughter-in-law on and teach her, because I know she'll be extremely receptive to everything and work hard and be into it. So I'm excited about that one. But in general,
I think for the team lead side, I think the biggest thing you get is like, well, how do you do it? Well, you got to do this or that and the other. Well, I don't like doing that. I'm not doing that. Right. It's not, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know where you want to go then.
Right. I mean, there's only so many ways to get, you have to get business. I think people for some reason get their license and they think they're going to now make $100,000 a year without having to just as a job. Like the deals are going to come to them and they're going to do them. They're going to make the commissions. People are always like, I like houses. That's the thing I get when I talk to people maybe new to the business and stuff. I'm like, You can have a law degree, you can have a marketing degree, you can have all these things, but how are you going to get the business? That's
Right.
That's what it comes down to, is how you're going to get the business. So, and then on the flip side of that though is really work. So those are the active things. I've been working recently to pay down a lot of monthly bills. You start making some money. You're like, I want that nice car, and I'm going to finance it because I know I can keep my cash and put in something else, et cetera.
Yep.
But then that kind of builds up to a point that you probably shouldn't have gotten to. So I've done that, and I'm working to go backwards, so that then there's monthly income to put toward these things that are going to provide that passive income. And you need to diversify. We're talking here a lot about real estate, and obviously it's our passions, and we're very knowledgeable about it. But even just dividend stocks and things like that. If you're into crypto, there's actually now some things in there that are pretty safe and provide really good returns. I mean, there's a lot of different things to look into, and you want to diversify those things out, because there could always be an industry hit by something. So you want to have it mixed in a little bit, and you want to have different levels of risk. So,
yeah.
You know, I realize this is my biggest flex in the stock market. You ready?
you're in video or whatever it was.
Oh, you got NVIDIA?
Long time ago.
Hold on.
My life. I had that.
I got to show this to you.
Those are one of the ones that I had. Like,
Yeah, I had. So the people I wish I bought Apple at. Well, everybody wishes they bought Apple at.
like you know which one I bought when you said crypto? What was it?
Yeah, Doge or something.
Doge. I had Doge.
Oh my
when
gosh.
it was like, this was like 2018, and I think I spent like $400 and I made like 16.
Sounds about right.
When they had that little boom.
I got a buddy I know. He got into Doge. I don't think he maybe put in like $500 or something. It was something small, and it started going up. Hit like 10 grand. He tried to cash out, couldn't figure out how. Went up to 60 grand. Tried to cash out again, couldn't figure out how. 120 grand.
Oh my!
It just kept going up because he couldn't figure out. He finally cashed most of it out. At $100 and some odd $1,000 on $500.
Yeah, I think I was lucky. I forgot the platform that wasn't letting you cash out at one point, but I had Coinbase. Which
I think he did it through a wallet instead of actually like
Coinbase.
somebody like that. So he
I
couldn't
don't
figure out
know.
how to get
That
it.
was the last time I got into the crypto world.
I mess with it a little bit right now. I've been following it all along, and I was investing in it back when the prior bull run, so to speak, we're just back out of the bear. So I invested in it and played around and learned a lot of things when it tanked. So now with it coming back, I know what to be looking for more. So
But you don't sell. You hold it.
You hold it.
You only lose when you sell, man. That's
but
what it is.
One of the cool things I've seen about crypto recently is now it can go with real world type scenarios. So you can kind of do it where it's like almost like an ETF or something. You can invest in a token. Now those people then, so a couple of the ones I like are traders who do very, very well and have many, many years of proven track records. Well, I can invest in that trader and get part of the returns. There's a couple different options. There's even bot trading and things like that. There's now ones that are doing mining. So mining, let's say Bitcoin, is extremely expensive, very labor intensive, things like that, with trying to make sure it's all going right, and you need the knowledge. Well, now I can buy into these people who have negotiated really good terms with their power and know the stuff they should be buying and keeping it cool and all that. So they do it all, but you invest effectively in it, and you're getting a piece of that return. So it's not like you're just picking Dogecoin, hoping that one goes, because your money could go up high, but it could also go to zero. These other things are more, they're safer. They're more
Like
real
the
world type
S&P
assets.
500, right? Like
that's
that's
S&P,
that one.
or it's like you're investing in somebody who's mining dollar bills or something like that. You're mining gold. That's actually, there's one that it's a gold mining broker or whatever. So you're investing in actual like the mining of the gold. There's a lot of things.
A lot of people's perception is that crypto, you invest in it, is the goal is to get rich fast. Almost like people that get their license, their goals, they're going to get rich very quickly in real estate, and it's not that. I mean, there's a chance. There's always a chance. Never say never, but it's a long-term game. That's just what it is.
I think on your NVIDIA one, they're about to split it, right? Like 10 different ways.
I was waiting.
So I got into this in April 14th of 2016.
Okay.
At $9.17 a share. I have 160 shares. Now, I wish I had way more, but the conversation is, shit, I should have bought more instead of, fuck, why did I buy that? Yeah. Those are the only two things that you ever do in stocks, right? I never sold. And somebody just told me to buy this because AMD at the time was the boss in the chip world. Yep. NVIDIA was just getting started. I'm like, cool. But there's like, now you're going to see all these memes and all these videos out, like $10,000 of NVIDIA bought then is worth this much now, right? And that's what's making me think like, damn it. I mean, I can't change the past,
I bought
right?
NVIDIA because I had a gaming PC, and that's that's why. That's how I got introduced into NVIDIAs.
Now the 10-1 split that happens June 10th. I mean, everyone's buying it now because it's at $1,200 something to share right now. As of I just looked, and so that'll split, cool, whatever. So it'll be more affordable. The question is, will it run up like that again? Will it do what Tesla did like 3-4 times in a row over the past few years?
It did pretty good.
Now Nvidia has split before, but it wasn't this run. It was a different run. It was like, oh, $30-$60. Let's do a 2-to-1 split. That's happened like 2 or 3 times so far. So now, I mean,
Is that a 10-to-1?
This is a 10-to-1.
So you're gonna have 1,600 shares.
10-to-1.
That's one to hold on to because it's not gonna run up. It's rare that stuff's gonna run up like that right away again. But long term, it is a good company. You could see those numbers again in the future. So if you see $1,000 a share with now
$1,600 shares, 1,600 shares, I'm moving to the Philippines, babe. We're leaving.
we're out.
Like we're good.
One thing to be careful of though, in the world of Facebook and Instagram and everything, that's a amazing flex, like you said. But I know for myself, I've invested in things that have gone down or even gone to zero.
Ditto.
So
yes.
you have the wins and the losses. We're too busy seeing all the wins on. Don't compare yourself to social media.
Well, not only that, even on the real estate side, like I invested $12K on a person who I actually knew, and at the end of the day, they were just a fraudster.
Yeah,
took it on the chin. Didn't even sue the guy.
But
I see him on Facebook looking at me.
Yep.
Hey,
I got taken on a mortgage thing for $15,000. I got taken from another guy who did something back in the day for a couple grand. I mean, it's happened to all of us. So
Yep.
I mean, I'll say a loss right now. Remember NIO?
Yeah.
NIO. All right, NIO is a big EV company that's out of China, and they were on a run for a while. I bought in 21 173 shares at $52 a share. In 2020, I bought 32 shares at $46 a share. They're worth $4.83 right now.
Oh, you need to hold on to that.
So I'm down. I'm not gonna. I didn't lose because I haven't sold yet. But fudge, you see what I'm saying? So it's like you're gonna have probably more losses than wins. But if you can average it to have more wins than losses, that's how you're gonna do. I saw this meme the other day at Target. It was like, this isn't failing, and it was like shots all over that wasn't in the center. And then I saw the target that had nothing. This is failing. And then I made that post. It's like the biggest risk is just not doing anything. That's really what it comes down to. Like, are you going to sit back and just chill and hope, or are you going to just do it and fail forward?
But try to know your investments, though. For instance, so NIO, yes, it's down a lot, and I was in it at one point as well. But I still keep track of NIO.
Who talked you into that one?
That was back during the EV stuff.
Yeah,
so,
it was like the EV
actually, I think I talked to him. That might have been my bad. My bad, Julian. But they're still sponsored with the Chinese government, and they're now giving them the autonomous license or whatever.
Okay.
So that stock still has the possibility. It's still a strong company to really blow up. So
just EV companies at that time that's when Tesla was on their real big run. So all the secondary ancillary businesses are gonna have a pop.
I've been looking at those like quantum computers type stuff. So
it's not bad. You're not gonna go wrong when it comes
to
that.
Anything robotic, I guess. That's what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think NVIDIA is gonna dominate.
They're gonna murder it, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, but then we segue back to real estate. You got so many REITs that you can get into. I'm in one called PK, but it's just big hotel REITs that they don't provide the best stock price perspective, but their dividends are higher. So if we're looking at passive income, you own X amount of these REITs, and it's paying you the dividends quarterly, monthly, however it breaks down. Okay, now you're making some good money by just holding. I don't give a shit if I bought at $20 or $10. The dividends are the same.
Right.
They have to divvy out X amount of dollars in order for them to follow whatever their guidelines are, their SOPs.
I started getting into those pretty good because I like that same thing. I don't care. The price volatility is relatively small, so even if it goes from 9 to 14 or 14 down to $9 a share or something, it's not a big deal. But the more you accumulate, you're now making that passive income, and then it's good incomes because those things have to give out 93% or something of their profit.
Yeah.
And if they've invested well, so you have to see what they've invested in.
But like even to you guys, like all this stuff you guys are getting into, how long were you? Or I know you just got into real estate not too long ago, but you've been around the world with investors and things like that. You've obviously been in real estate since
22 years. 23 years.
But how long
before Christ?
Before you guys actually really started dibbling and dabbling with all these REITs and things like that, right? It didn't happen year one, year two.
For me, it was most of my career. I say in the grand scheme of things, relatively recently over the last 5 years or something. Than a rental property or something, but most of it's been relatively recently, so to speak. I wish I'd done a lot earlier. I wish I had podcasts and things like that now. I mean, we're big on following these people on Instagram, Sam Faster Freedom, whatever, things like that.
Yeah.
I wish we had those things. We didn't, so I had to learn kind of.
Yeah, and I think it's that capital that you, like the 12 grand that I spoke about, right?
Right.
That was money that I knew I wasn't going to look at it.
Right.
I'm not expecting it back,
Yep.
right? Because it was an investment. And for some people, they need to collect that capital also sometimes.
Yeah.
To
Well, that's why I say
kinda get
start
into
bringing
this.
down your bills so that you have more money monthly that can go into something. Because yes, it takes money to make money. So you can't make $5,000 a month and spend $5,000 a month. You're never going to get anywhere.
Right.
I don't say it doesn't matter what you make. You just got to spend less than you make, and then take that extra to invest it.
Yeah.
So.
It's to your point, invest what you're willing to lose. It's like when you go to Vegas and gamble. Are you really expecting to win? You're willing to spend whatever you decided to spend. It's the same.
This is entertainment, $100.
Right.
Yeah,
Same concept, dude.
Well, I mean, in 5 years, where do you see yourself?
Yes.
Bravo.
Florida fishing.
Florida, okay.
Yeah, definitely with the more passive income. I'm already kind of moving toward directions I want to move, but a lot more assets, so to speak. I still want to work. I still want to do the things I'm doing. I'm still going to be building the property management. I'm still going to be selling houses and working with the team. I enjoy it. 5 more years, I'm still going to enjoy it. 10 more years, who knows? 15, whatever. But 5 more years, I definitely still want to be part of all that and doing that. But my big things are paying down what I got and building those assets and income producing things. So, and doing more of what I like to do. So part of it I realized was because I had kids, but also part of it was I just worked too hard. I always felt like if I wasn't, I still have it. It's this weird feeling that, we're not multi-millionaires. So if I take a half day or if I take a day and go fishing with Jeremy, I love fishing. I used to feel very, very guilty about that. Like, I should be working because I don't have millions of dollars. And so now I'm realizing I actually work better and I'm more productive when I do these things that I enjoy doing. I just got to have balance, but I'm definitely spending more time doing those things. We're going on a 2-week vacation. I haven't been on a 2-week vacation in 20 years. So I see more balance in 5 years, a lot more
Now,
balance.
your 2-week vacation, how many calls and emails? Are you really shutting out the world?
So for the first, I've never gone on vacation and not brought phones, computers, and worked. Okay, and that's not a flex. That's a bad thing. Okay, that's not a good thing. This one though, I am pretty comfortable with the teams I have in place, the people I have in place to answer a few things, but hopefully I've got a $1.1 million closing while I'm maybe gone, and I'm fine with one of my people going to the closing and handling my clients and things like that. I've got probably gonna have several active listings, and I'm not even gonna worry about it. I've got plenty of things going on that this will probably be the first one that I'll be relatively comfortable being gone. Will I turn off my phone now?
Hell no.
I can't do it, man. I can't.
But he has the Android, so if your iPhone like we are, you won't be able to
You
contact
won't forget
him
me anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah, those pictures are horrible.
I know. Green bubbles. What the hell? I don't get it.
You do realize it's Apple that does that. Anyway,
We do, but we don't care.
you don't care. No,
You don't win. I'm sorry.
My
We're the
wife
bigger-
gives me. Everybody gives me.
We're
that
the bigger
stuff.
gang. Sorry.
Yeah, it just fucks up the whole group text. Like,
it's a-
"Ugh, this guy.
There's always one guy.
The dark side.
Well, do you have any questions for us?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years?
Yeah.
Growing the fuck out of this company.
Yeah.
Kind of the same things you're doing right now. Actually, I just spoke to the wife. I think we're gonna zero out our mortgages. They're small. We had for the 2 homes. It's like $450K. Okay, let's knock that out. And then the same amount of money that we're spending on these homes is like, let's reinvest it into those funds will go towards the kids.
Right.
Although we've already started things for their future. And I spoke about it a couple other podcasts ago where it's like, yeah, we get to see the kids grow up, get married, just like what you're going through right now, right? But they're going to leave the house.
They are. It's sad.
But you're with that partner that you chose, that 20-year partner that you got so far.
20 years. And my son moved a mile down the street. So
Right. But
Literally.
I mean, I see me and my wife starting to travel a little bit more for us, not for a business or anything like that. Traveling, doing more of what we want.
Yeah.
And do I see myself ever not working? No.
And then that's kind of the.
But it
persona
moves
of who
into
we are.
that realm of I kind of do what I want to do.
It's want to work versus have to work, I think.
Yeah. Right now, I want to work. Like what we have going on here, we didn't get paid for just Iron Valley. I mean, we didn't take a dime since I joined up until this year.
Oh yeah, been there, done that several times with several businesses.
But now we're seeing the fruits, right? And the partners that I joined, they didn't take a penny for even longer than that. But now the fruits of our laborers are coming back, and now it's commercial. You know, we're looking at I can't say that shit, but we're looking at commercial buildings. But fuck it. But you know that everything is getting grander. You know, I think I'm gonna enjoy watching. You know, Mike, for example, Mike Little. He's going on those stages next as a speaker, and that's gonna be dope. Watching that monster there just grow up. I always told them, I was like, I don't see you as a coach. I just see you as that speaker, not a. I don't know if you know who Dan Pena is or whatever. Like he's that blunt,
Literally.
in your face.
Yeah.
I was like, that's your crowd. That's gonna be the niche, right? So let's see what kind of the support he gets. Obviously, watching California grow with Eric, but again, for myself, it's gonna be more time with my wife.
Yeah.
The children are still small. They're gonna be in junior high in 5 years.
Yeah.
So we're stuck with them. Well, a lot more baseball,
A lot more
football,
baseball.
whatever.
Enjoy
they
the
do.
times. They change. I was nervous about them getting older, but they just change. So that's good.
Two of my kids, I'll say this. My daughter and my middle child, they are more artistic. Arts, piano, whatever. My youngest one, he's more me. He's more
Athlete.
sports, dumb. Like, he's always in trouble at school.
That's not
Every
always a bad
week.
thing.
Every
it's not always a
week.
bad thing when they get
Motherfucker.
older.
He's a good kid. He's just like, he does.
He does what he wants to do.
Right?
Yeah. It was flipping off the kids in the school bus. He's 5, by the way. Then there was a active shooter drill at school, and he couldn't keep quiet. You know, that doesn't help. And we just got a report. It was like he said he cussed in recess or whatever.
No big deal.
He's not hitting any kids. He better not.
What makes you feel better? This is what my 2-year-old did to my wife the other day. So.
No, Miles, my man.
Yeah. That was cute.
That's kind of funny.
It's pretty funny though.
Yeah, but 5 years. Now, and that's the cool thing now. Also, we're like planning family trips together. I think that's very important that they see the world. You know, me and my wife were prior military, so we got to experience all of that, and I think that helps.
I agree.
Just any person to experience that. Just get the fuck out of America.
See
Go
how
see-
other people live, see other cultures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take it in. Like, just experience that and get out of your little bubble. You know, I think you obviously moved from a different area to here, and
Been here a long
you've
time,
seen different states, right? And different, I would say, jerseys, right? You said you're
It's
from
very different, yes.
very different than
I would
Virginia.
never go live back in New Jersey, never.
Right. Yeah. If you ask Edwin, he claims Jersey, but I don't think he'll go back.
Right. Nope. Not at
Edwin
all.
said he's sorry he couldn't be here today too, brother. He wanted to do it, rock it with you, but that means you just got to come back and do another one.
We'll have to do another one. We get a good topic going.
Yeah.
I did one other thing to add to that though is over the years, I like seeing other people do well and maybe being a part of that and whatnot. So I think that's kind of also with the whole creating passive income and things like that. I want to help the people I'm around see that as well, whether I can help them get there, or at least just show them that they need to be getting there. Or somebody like Julian, who's of the thousands of people I've met in real estate or wanted to get into real estate over the years, he's the one person where it was like, this person will be successful if they just are given a little bit of a nugget and they'll run off with it, kind of thing. So that being able to see that happen is amazing, and I want more of that. I want a lot more of that. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a great feeling.
not that there's any more Julians ever, but you know, somebody
no
who can-
more
There's no
Julians.
more Julians,
Sorry.
but just seeing people who can need a little push or need a little something, and you can be that something to help them go to another level. So
Yeah, absolutely. And even to that point, like, we're excited to watch Norfolk grow and see what those guys do over there. And obviously, Julian, you're a cool vibe or whatever, but it's time to work. Like, yeah, like it's a different mindset taking on a brokerage and actually talking to agents and trying to get them over to your brokerage. But it's also a great feeling when you see these agents come out, and we talked about it a while ago, where it's like we used to look at these rosters for Hampton Roads. It was like, damn, how the hell are they selling so much in 6 months and in the top 50s? And it's like now we got a dozen of them up in the top 100 year round.
Exactly. And that's, I'm tired of taking the people who don't want that. Like I want to be working with the people who I see that vision in, or that kind of thing that they have.
Yeah, they take that advice and they stick to their goals and their plans, and they implement and they execute. That's great to watch all of those people come out of this company.
Yes.
And then just life, like your children, they sound like fucking great kids.
They are. Like I said, what's crazy to me is I was a bit of a hellion when I was younger, but especially high school, college, whatever. My kids were so good. My wife and I would leave town for something and leave our kids at home because we knew they wouldn't do anything, and they never did.
It's true.
It's just insane to me how good they ended up,
that's
and
great.
Compared to some of the dumb stuff I did.
Yeah, and that came out of your household.
Exactly.
I don't know that feeling, Eli. So that's one thing I will say. Shout out to Brooke.
You know that feeling. Julian's good.
Yeah. No, he is good. Jules is good. Yeah. But shout out to your kids, Brooke and Nathan. Y'all, you're right. I'd leave for 2 weeks and feel fine with them being home.
We actually, around the time maybe Brooke was 12 and Nathan's 15, let's say. The joke was we would leave her in charge of him because she was he just would like forget to eat for 3 days or something because he's a dude, whatever.
He's your son.
But she'd make sure everything was good, and
that's great.
He didn't do anything stupid, so we were fine. It was a good time.
Good times. Do you have one question that you want to ask the next person on the show for them to? Give me one question that the next person on the show can answer. A random question that's going to be surrounded about your peak life before we wrap up.
I'm going to think about that one for a second.
Think of one. No, it can be crazy. There's no wrong answers here. The only wrong answer is not saying anything at all. Isn't that right, Edgar?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What things are you doing or going to do to help others reach their peak life? I feel like that's where we're at. Like with the podcast, things like that, successful people, I feel like that's where we get to in our lives is also helping other people. So first 20, 30 years of life or whatever, we're kind of helping ourselves, figuring it out. I think once you hit that point, then it's all right, how do we also help other people in various aspects? So
I agree.
And this peak life is a great idea. And so what are we doing as a collective to get other people there too?
I agree.
Raise them up.
Write it down. Remember it. Stamp it. Notarize it. That's the question for the next time. All right. We had Eli Miller here. He was our special guest today.
That's
DJ
me.
Julian Rivera. Edgar, you know him. You love him. You see him. Until next time, y'all. Subscribe, like, follow. You know what to do. Peace.
Take it easy.
See y'all.